So I'm finally here, man. For to talk about YG album, Still Brazy. It was released a day before my birthday, June 17th. And it basically is a continuation from My Crazy Life in 2014, but without the production of DJ Mustard. And I like how he still has the story incorporated within the album. Now, you get a few things on this album. You get the G Funk era of 90s West Coast music as far as the production on here. You definitely get to see, his views on, politics, um, violence, his paranoia, his life experiences, being yet a gangster within hip hop that's semi famous and a millionaire, how his life changed. Friends turning foes, foes want to be friends. Um, all type of things that can produce, as I said, paranoia. But it starts off with the intro record, which is Pop's hot intro, which plays off the first album where his mom was on that one, and then the second album his dad is on it. Then it goes into Don't Come to LA, which has been perceived as a Chris Brown disc, basically just saying how you gang banging and you really not about that life, but yet you go out of town and you kind of bring this culture as if you about it. It's just basically warning people about the city. Don't come to LA. Basically it is what it is. It's a dope record. I definitely fuck with it. You know what I mean? Y'all can break it down, interpret it how you want to interpret it. Just basically, you know what I mean? We don't fuck with outsiders. No fly zone, basically. And goes into track 3, Who Shot Me? Basically feeling like he was set up, paranoia. The production is there. It's basically the situation when he got shot and seeing how he didn't know how somebody can get his pin code to get in and get to where he was. Definitely a good record. And I was like, wow, I would be freaked out too if that happened to me, you know what I mean? And I was like, shit, he didn't hold nothing back. He definitely delivered on that record. Goes into Word is Bond, featuring Slim 400. Basically just, keeping shit 100. You know what I mean? He ain't a liar. He just telling you what it is. And Slim 400 definitely came through on a solid verse. Getting into Twist My Fingers, I didn't know what to feel about the record when I first seen it and first heard it. But basically, when I listened to it, I definitely fuck with it, man. It's like the standout lines. It's like when he said he made it without Dre. After I got shot, I walked away, from that situation. Just overall good vibe, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, this is another impressive song. And I'm like, damn, this nigga is not, flopping on this album whatsoever. Then it gets into the Good Times interlude, basically a dice game, you know what I mean, with the homies. It goes into Gimme Got Shot, just basically talk about people wanting handouts, you know what I mean, and people that really want something for nothing and not really trying to, bring nothing to the table in a sense. And I definitely feel like that's a good record, you know what I mean. If y'all ever have family members or friends that's like that, always want something for nothing and don't really know how to be a real friend, then you understand that record. It get into another record with Lil Wayne. I got a question. Another song where I was basically, up and down on like, damn, I don't know like how I feel about this song because everybody that say some people say they like it because of the Wayne feature, and me, I definitely feel like he was a wordsmith on this record. It was dope. His technical skills was there, and it just I got a question. You know what I mean? And he break down certain aspects of life, certain aspects of, you could say, politics, racism, police bullshit. You know what I mean? And it's still a good record. I didn't really give a fuck about the Wayne verse. Sorry, you know what I mean? It just wasn't Wayne's strongest verse. Getting into track 9, Why You Always Hating, featuring Drake and Kamaya, I was not feeling it, man. I was like, damn, I don't know what everybody else was, you know, hearing on the record. I just couldn't get with it. Gets into My Perception, featuring Slim 400, a basic, skit. Uh, Could have did without it. Then it gets into track 11, Boo, Bomb, and Belective. And a lot of people have trouble saying that word, but it's just a dope ass song, man. Storytelling, smooth beat, it's catchy. It's just an overall good record. Boo, Bomb, and Belective. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, that's a trippy record when you think about it, because he a blood, so he don't really use C's nowhere, and he incorporates that throughout, the album as well with using the B over the C, and I was like, damn, this nigga he put some work into this album. It gets into track 12, She Wish She Was, and it got the Mac 10 for Life sample. I thought that was dope. Joe Moses, J305. It just basically speaking on hoes, just flipping the I would say if she was a nigga, just basically wanting to do what a nigga would do, like a chick mess with a nigga and he bugging out, so she flip on him and go fuck with another nigga, and it's just basically shit like that. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, that's a different take on it. I had to listen to that shit a couple times to catch the vibe of it. But once I listened to it, I'm like, okay, I see where he going with this record. I definitely fuck with it. Then it gets into track 13, YGB Safe, featuring a homegirl, just another skit. And getting into track 14, basically I'm looking at it like this is the I don't know if this is a deluxe edition of this album, but track 14 seemed like that's where the album will end. And it's basically still Brazy, is about, being paranoid, basically talking about his life throughout the song, and I definitely feel like that's a great way to close the album. I thought the hook was okay. It didn't really say anything, got kind of repetitive. And the last three tracks is basically, you can call this the politic race part of the album, the social commentary part of the album with Fuck Donald Trump featuring Nipsey Hussle. Basically a political statement, anti-Trump anthem, if you want to call it that. Blacks and Browns featuring Sad Boy. It basically breaks down the discrimination and bullshit that each race go through, from the black side of it and then the Mexican Latino side of it. And I thought that was a very dope record. And Sad Boy came through with a solid verse. I was like, wow. It definitely touched on a lot of racism, classism, black on black crime, as well. Well, YG verse, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, this definitely wasn't what I thought it'd be. And the last track, Police Get Away with Murder, it's just the racial profiling, police antagonism, in LA. And he actually shouts out RP to the people that lost their life, unarmed people that lost their life, to basically crooked police is what I'm gonna call it. But overall, with this album having, basically 13 records, because you got a couple skits in there, and I was like, damn, that's still not a bad album. But overall, with some of the production, some of the content, can kind of get, it's like, oh, you said this already in a way, and we kind of got that already, and the lyrics was there, definitely a flow, definitely a great vibe of a record. And it steps away from My Crazy Life, which was so appealing to me, and that was a fucking classic album. And that yet still, I feel that was an album to where everybody kept saying, yo, check it out, and I never got around to it. And when I finally did, I gave the fans the perspective of what I thought about it, and gave y'all the credit, because it was y'all that wanted me to check this out. And seeing how I loved it, I didn't know what to expect from this, because there was really no promotion for this album or nothing like that. And so I went into it thinking like, okay, damn, what is this album gonna be about? And I heard people reviews and thoughts on it and everything, but I just wanted to hear it for myself, because the era of music that he used, I wasn't really listening to West Coast music. That was like my brother, uncles, and cousins. The Spice One, the early Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, E40 and things of that nature. So that really wasn't my era of West Coast music. You dig? So I definitely enjoyed the production. I definitely enjoyed the sound. I know the sound of the West Coast LA music. So when I'm listening to it, it's familiar with me, but I just wasn't listening to it. And I'm not gonna be one of them niggas that do a review talking about, oh yeah, back in the day. Nah, I wasn't really listening to it, but I could appreciate and understand it for what the culture is. You feel what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I get his album an 8.5 out of 10. I still feel like it's too early to compare to My Crazy Life, but I definitely see where he's going, and I'm definitely looking forward to where his third album, where he gonna take it as far as the West Coast sound, because I feel like on the first album he basically did the production of the new West Coast music, and this one he went back kind of with the 90s, but it's so much music in the West Coast. I definitely want to see what they're gonna do in his third joint. And the production gets a 9 out of 10. That shit was just crazy, but I definitely feel like I made a good choice in copying this album, listening to it, supporting it. I definitely feel like this will make my top 10 albums list if I decide to do it. But yeah, man, that's just my take on it. YG still Brazy. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody that wanted me to talk about it. Shout out to YG. And yeah, man, I'm out of here. 100.